Hey, good evening, guys. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy. Got a couple of subjects we're going to talk about tonight. One of them is I want to share an email with you that one of my listeners sent. Come here, Ham Radio Cat. I'm going to let you jump up here tonight instead of picking you up. Y'all know I refer to my NASA engineer buddy. One of my listeners, David, WB5UPT, is a retired NASA engineer. And he sent me a real good email. We're talking about the video a couple back when I told you I had trouble with that Buckmaster. He said, David, you had a barrel connector between two pieces of coax running to your Buckmaster covered with rubber and 3M Super 33 tape. When you took that apart, blew it out, and reassembled that joint, your problem cleared. I used to design equipment for the gas pipeline industry located out of doors in sealed metal boxes. Even though the boxes were sealed, liquid water would accumulate at the bottom of the box over time, more water than a desiccant bag could absorb. Turns out there's always a little bit of water humidity in the air we breathe. That humidity will sweat on cold surfaces and condense out. The sealed boxes would expand in the heat of the day, and a little air would always leak out somewhere. At night, the box would contract and create a vacuum, drawing cool, moist air into the box, which would condense inside the box. After a few months, you had enough condensation inside the box to cause rust and other problems. We joked that you could always get a drink of water from our equipment if you were thirsty in the desert in Saudi Arabia. A similar process occurs more quickly inside the air tank of an air compressor. Air compressors need to be drained regularly. That water is literally from the air we breathe, humidity, etc. The sudden pressure changes cause condensation inside the air tank and possibly rust that could compromise the safety of the pressure tank. Also, as an electrician, you know the code says your conduit must be watertight, but you also put a little weep hole at the lowest point of the conduit because you know water would get in somewhere and has a place to go. And yep, I've seen that in electrical work. Your barrel connector contains a tiny bit of air. The rubber coax seal and tape do a perfect job of keeping water and junk out of your electrical connection, but coincidentally trap this tiny bit of humid air inside the body of the connector. You discovered the hard way this moisture will affect dielectric performance of your connectors and may contribute to corrosion over time. You cleared the problem for now by renewing the connection and resealing it. Tip from a 70-year-old guy. Your local car parts store sells dielectric grease that is intended to be applied to the inside of spark plug boots. The main selling point is that this grease makes the boots easier to remove when it's time to change spark plugs. This dielectric grease is also a perfect high voltage electrical insulator, plus will protect metal parts, contact pins, sockets, and the threaded outer barrel of a coax connector from moisture and oxidation. Just the thing for your barrel connector. Using the automotive high voltage dielectric grease should be considered whenever mating coaxial connectors. This automotive dielectric grease is not to be confused with products like Deoxit or other lubricants which may not withstand the voltage and are intended for cleaning and lubricating switches, connectors, contacts, potentiometers, and such. I use various detox products extensively, but not on anything that exposes outdoors where residue would accumulate dust. Also, the conductive metal filled grease is used on telescoping tubes of aluminum antennas is a big no-no on connectors for obvious reasons. And talking about the ants, another bit about ants, fire ants and sharks are attracted by electric fields. In the Houston area, the leading cause of air conditioner failures is due to the bodies of fire ants filling conduit, contacts, and circuit breakers and switches. That's great. David, thank you. WB5UPT, my NASA engineer buddy. Thanks a lot. That makes a lot of sense. And obviously, you helped Cody out also because he run into the same problem and sent me a called. We got talking on the radio about that day, and I sent him your email. Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate your input, buddy. Okay, got another little thing we're going to try to talk about here. And I'm not smart enough to keep it pulled up on this tablet, so I'm going to bring it back up again. Y'all bear with me. This kind of gets back to a subject I've talked about a lot, but somebody brought a post up on Friendly Amateur Radio Elmers, and I thought we'd talk about it tonight. Do most hams focus on one or two bands or more bands? Also, it is better to put an antenna up for each band, or can you get away with a multi-band antenna? Just curious here. Well, all kinds of answers, and all of them were good, valid answers. I didn't see any snarky answers or anything like that. But we're going to talk about that. And this is kind of a subject I like to talk about from different aspects of antennas. Hey, Ham Radio Cat, what are you doing down there? Come here. Everybody wants to see you. Come up here. Well, turd, come here. Well, go on then. She's acting a fool tonight. This is strictly advice for new hams. You old guys already got your antenna set up, and I'm not trying to sway y'all's opinion on anything. New hams, you want to get on HF and make contacts. I understand that. I did too. I still like to do that. If you're a tech, you know you got voice privileges on 10 meters, you got everything 6 meters up, and you have some CW privilege on a couple of the other bands. You know what that is when you took your license. If you want to get an antenna up, think about your future in ham radio. If your future is to get a general or extra class license and you want to get a chance to try more of the other bands, and there's several other options antennas you can put up. Again, it gets back to your location, how much room you got. If you got any restrictions, HOA, city restrictions, y'all might have heard Ronnie Hull mention that last video. Now in Shreveport, you have to have a permit to put a tower up, even when they're not in a HOA. So you got other things like that to think about. And you may want to try all the bands, but then you may drift back to just working a couple of bands. And that's kind of, my experience in ham radio is I started out at tech, stayed at tech a long time due to the 13 word per minute code. I've always loved 10 meters, and I've always kept up, or not always, but for the most part, I've always had some kind of Yagi up on single band Yagi on 10 meters. Simple wire dipole works great on 10 meters. Doesn't take a lot of room, easy to get up in the air. That works good for you guys as a tech on 10 meters. Now, this opens up the $64 question on antennas for multi-band use. And what I'm saying is just my advice and my thoughts, and I'm not trying to sway anybody's ideas on anything. I've never put a tower. Well, I've had one tower up about a minute and a half, and I told that story many videos ago. Tri-banders are great, but you only going to get, say, an average tri-bander's 10, 15, and 20 meters. They make antennas for 40 meters. They make a 2-element Yagi for 40 meters, and it is huge. I know a friend of mine had one up. It's got one up down the road from me. Wire antennas, multi-band wire antennas. This Buckmaster is a great antenna. Off-center fed dipole. I've got good SWR on all the bands. I've made lots of contacts with it. The 8-band version, though, is extremely long. It's almost as long as a football field. If I didn't own the land around my house yard, I wouldn't have been able to put it up. They have shorter versions of that where you give up 80 and 160. As Tim has got the 7-band version, I think his may have 80 on it, but they've also got a version, I think it just goes down to 40. So when you drop 80 and 160 off, it makes it a little more manageable antenna that you might be able to get up on lots. End-fed half waves. A lot of guys like them. My personal experience with them, I haven't been that impressed with them. That's just my personal experience. G5RVs, a lot of people hate them. A lot of people love them. I like the first one I had, but you got to have a radio with a tuner on it. And some antennas, you got to realize a lot of these internal tuners on radios won't tune anything more than 3-to-1 out. So if your antenna is going to be more compromised than that, you may have to go with an external tuner. Anyway, the main thing is plan what you're wanting to do. Look at your location, how deep your pocketbook is, how much you want to spend on the hobby, and go from there. I said this the other day, and I will repeat it again. When I got into this hobby in '91, POTA didn't exist, SOTA didn't exist. People talked about field day, but for the most part, all the hams I knew either operated mobile or from their home. Well, I didn't know. I did one field operation. We set up a special event station one time. It's the only time I'd ever worked in the field till I got back in it again and started with the Hammerheads crew, and we started doing field day and winter field day and things like that. The advice I got then: get your general, put up a tire, get a tri-bander, get on 20 meters. I've been on 20 meters. I'll still use 20 meters on occasion. It's not one of my favorite bands. I like 10 and 17, and I'm starting to like 12 a little more now. I've made a lot of contact, especially on FT8 on 12 meters. Those three bands doesn't take a real long antenna. You can make an antenna. You can make a dipole, and you can make a multi-band or what they call a fan dipole. Real easy. There's all kinds of plans for those out there, and they work great. You just need to think about what you're wanting to do and how far you're wanting to get into this hobby and the bands you think you plan to operate on. If you're new, you got your general, and you don't know what band you want to operate on the first time, I would suggest putting up an end-fed half wave, a 10 through 80 end-fed half wave. And if you've got a tuner, if it needs a tuner, you'll have a tuner to use it with. They'll give you access to all the bands. You can listen to all the bands and kind of get an idea of how far you want to go with antennas to operate on the different bands. That's the easiest way I know how to say this. It's advice. All I'm doing is giving you advice on this. A little planning on your part and thinking ahead will save you some money down the road. Because if you put up multiple single band antennas, every one of them is going to require a run of coax coming to your house. If you put up one multi-band antenna, you got one run of coax to buy instead of several. Things to think about. Also, are you planning on getting an amp in your future? If you're planning on getting an amp in your future, right off the bat, put up an antenna that's rated for power and get coax that'll work accordingly, like 213, LMR 400, or something like that. I've used RG8X for years, 30 megahertz and below, but I've never run an amp on it. I don't have a bit of problem with less than a 100-foot run of RG8X, and a lot of guys laugh at me for using it. Jeff and I both have used it for years. I got a logbook full of contacts I've made with RG8X. But when I put this Buckmaster up, I bought 213 to run it on because I got this amp sitting back here that's never been used yet, but I plan to get it on the air here pretty quick. When you're looking at antennas, and Ronnie Hull made some good points, if you're going to buy an antenna, buy the best you can afford, okay, because it'll save you money in the long run. Study how to hook it up. That previous email I just read give you some good ideas on how to waterproof your connections. That's everywhere you got a connection is a potential problem on your antenna system. The fewer connections you have, in my book, the better off you are. You'll need to look at what if you're going to use lightning protection or just disconnect in a storm. That's options up to you. But think about what you're doing and get a game plan, how you want to do it. Ask questions. And listen to everybody's answer. I guarantee you go get some answers that say, well, you need to do this, you got to do it this way. But listen to what they're saying versus how they're saying it. All right. Feel free to email me any questions you got. I'll try to help you any way I can. If I can't answer your question, I'll put it before the group, and I can guarantee you I can get you an answer out of it. Plenty of antenna options out there, plenty of ways to build your own antenna without having to buy a tower or a tri-bander or an expensive antenna. 160-meter loops are great if you've got enough room to put one up. Kent's running one, Adam's running one. They have real good luck with it. They're good antennas. You can work the world with it. We can work local with it. The only antenna that I have found, and this Jeff was talking about this the other night when we got the group going again, when we and him first got back into the hobby, was both running G5 RVs. They do good for DX, but they're not real good for line of sight. Even the off center fed dipole, if Tim forgets and stays hooked up on his off center fed dipole, we could tell the difference in his signal versus his 10-meter homemade rotatable dipole. Another thing with 10 meters, I talk about making wire dipoles. If you come up with some aluminum TV antennas, tent poles, anything, Tim and Jeff and Cody are running 10-meter rotatable dipoles that they've made from scratch, and they work excellent. So you've got plenty of options you can do there without having to break the bank on plus once you've already bought a radio and power supply and all that. VHF, UHF, all depend on what you're wanting to do. If you're just wanting to work local repeaters where you'll have a good signal, it's an expensive antenna, but I may get the model wrong, but it's a Comet or a Diamond DX700. It's a collinear 5/8 wave dual band antenna. Tim's got one, Kent's got one, Jeff's got one, and they are outstanding antennas for a vertical omnidirectional antenna with a lot of gain. They really are good. I'm still running my homemade 3-element Yagi for 2 meters, and I like it. But if you just want one antenna for VHF, UHF, also there's other less expensive Diamond. I've got them running a Diamond quarter wave. I've had up since 06 VHF, UHF antenna that works good. But that one works exceptionally well, especially if you can get some height on it. VHF, UHF to work repeaters has something you're really going to need a push-up pole, a tower, or something to get some height on it, unless you're local to the repeater that you can hit it with a handheld or an antenna at a lower elevation. It's something to think about. Well, guys, I hope that ain't been too rambling tonight. Appreciate everybody subscribed to the channel. We're at 2,036 subscribers. I'm working on getting some stuff to school clubs up there. Probably won't get that done till after Thanksgiving. Broken Circuit Ranch, Circle 6 mail drop, my door planner links will be in the description of the video. And I leave a door planner in there. She's an Etsy shop. She sells all other kinds of things, but she makes stickers. So if any of y'all need stickers for any reason, check her out. She does some really cool stuff on her site. MRG Labs will be the first slide you'll see after this video. Main trading company, they're going to be shut down, I think, after December 5th of the first year. They've got a lot of good sales going on up there right now, so it'd be worth checking them out. If you call up there, tell them you heard about it here on the channel. Guys, appreciate everybody like this and me at Old Ham Radio Cat. Spread the word about the channel. like, and subscribe. I appreciate it. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.